أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله القائل إن الله يحب التوابين ويحب المتطهرين وأصلي وأسلم على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. All praises due to Almighty Allah, transcendented be He. We bear witness there is no God worthy for worship except He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We also bear witness that Muhammad is the final and seal of the prophets of Allah. May the peace and salutations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon him, his household, his companions, and all those who adhere to his teachings till the time of Akhirah. My dear viewers, we are so much elated to meet you at this precious time to discuss with you on the topic of Tahara, which is purification. My dear viewers, there is no contradiction that purification is one of the most important aspects of Islam. Some people knew Islam with purification. When you mention purification anywhere, they think of Islam, because it has been known by everyone in the world scale that Muslims are fond of washing down themselves frequently. This is a pure instruction from Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to them. This is what we are coming to discuss today. So when we say at-tahara or purification, what is the meaning of purification? Scholars of Islamic jurisprudence said raf'ul hadath wa zawal al-khabath. Just a sheer attempt to uplift or lift up any form of debt that will break up the worship of a Muslim. Any debt at all that you will be lifting from yourself will mean that you are observing purification. Purification, as we look at it, is a conditionality to the offering of prayer. When a Muslim is not pure, you cannot observe a prayer. You need to be pure before you will be able to observe prayer. Purification has a lot of importance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala categorically mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 222, that inna Allah, the verily He, Allah, yuhibbu tawabin wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. The He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, loves those who repent to He, Allah. Wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. He also loves those who are purified. He loves those who also purify themselves. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam had been instructed in the Quran to clean his cloth from stains. وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. In Surah Al-Muddathir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had placed a lot of importance and eminence on the system of purification, to the degree that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the hadith that at-tuhuru shatrul iman, that the faith that we Muslims have, a part of it is purification. He said at-tuhuru shatrul iman, the purification is half of faith. Meaning, when you are a Muslim and you don't observe purification, it is as if you are screwing up in this beautiful religion of ours. Purification have types. When we say zawal al-khabath, it is the removal of tangible impurities like the urine, like feces or stools. And we also have zawal al-hadath, which is the removal of the ritual impurities. And within the definition of the ritual impurities, we have two types. We have the major ritual impurity, and we have the minor ritual impurity. What is the major ritual impurity? The major ritual impurity is any impurity that calls for its purification through the taking of a ritual bath. For example, there are some impurities when they touch you, you can't go and perform the normal ablution to get clean. You will have to observe a ritual bath, which we will tell you in this episode. We will describe to you how the ritual bath is being undertaken. So those aspects of the impurities that when they touch you, you will need to take a ritual bath is what we refer to as the major ritual impurity. Like in Islam, when a man or a woman happens to have a sexual affair with the other party, you will need to observe a ritual bath, which will mean that you have lifted up the impurity from yourself. This is a major ritual impurity. This can be lifted through the take observation of a ritual bath. We also have some of our women, they menstruate. After they become clean, they need to take a ritual bath, which will mean that they have lifted up the ritual impurity. This is part of the major ritual impurities. When a man sleeps or a woman sleeps and then he sees sperms or water flowing from his system or her system, it may be a dream, a wet dream, that a man or a woman sees himself or herself having an affair with the opposite sex. Then he gets up to find out that there are some excretions that are not urine, but sperm-like nature, sperms or sperm-like nature. You will have to take your bath to make sure that you lift this spiritual impurity. We can continue counting them. We have the minor ritual impurity. The minor ritual impurity is any impurity that the performance of ablution lifts it. For example, if you flatulate, flatulence, when it occurs in you, you will need to go and perform an ablution, and you don't demand to go and take a ritual bath because it is a minor ritual impurity. When you go to toilets or ease yourself, you will need to cleanse yourself and then perform ablution in order for you to lift that particular ritual impurity. You are not going to take a ritual bath because it is a minor ritual impurity. The excretion of pre-seminal fluid. There are times where males and females fondle each other through intimacy. If you have not had an intercourse, you may see some pre-seminal fluid flowing from you, either male or female. Provided there wasn't anything like a sexual affair, Islam denotes that you will have to wash down the pre-seminal fluid and then perform ablution to lift up that particular ritual impurity because it is minor. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, these are the purification types that we need to observe. Dirt can reach your place, you need to clean it. It can be on your shirt, you need to clean it before you will have to observe an act of worship on either the place or use the shirt to observe prayer or observe an act of worship. Before you go to pray, everyone knows you will need to perform an ablution. How is this ablution performed? My dear listeners, before you perform ablution, you will have to pick up an intention which should not be said with the mouth. It should not be said with the tongue. It should be in the heart. An-niyyatu mahalluha al-qalb. The place of intention is the heart. You have the intention that you want to perform an ablution to purify yourself, to stand in front of Allah to observe a particular prayer. You will have to have the intention that you want to lift up a particular impurity from yourself in order to be clean or be purified. Because it is all times that the performance ablution will mean that one is going to observe a prayer. So you need to have an intention before you start the performance of ablution. It is even part of the condition that should be met. After the intention, you say Bismillah. In Islam, whatever that we do, we say Bismillah. In the name of Allah. After your intention, you say Bismillah while the clean water is in front of you. Then you pour the water, then you wash your hands 3 times. You pour the water, you wash your hand, you pour again, then you wash your hand, you pour again, then you wash your hand 3 times. Then you fetch the water, then you put into your mouth and you rinse your mouth 3 times. Then you fetch part of the water, then you draw into your nostrils, then you blow away 3 times. Then you fetch the water, then you wash your face. Make sure the whole of your face is covered. You wash your face 3 times. Then you fetch the water, then you wash from your hand here. You don't start from the wrist. You fetch the water, then you start from the hands, even though you wash this, but this is part of the hand. You wash from this to your elbows. You don't have to exceed. You wash again, second, you wash third. Then you come to the right hand, use your left hand, then you wash from the left hand to the elbows as well. Then you wash 3 times. After which you fetch part of the water, then you wipe your head once. Then you fetch part of the water, make your hands wet, then you put your hands into your ears, then the back ones are also scratching the back of your ears, then you clean your ears. After which you wash your feet from your toes to your ankle 3 times. Then you wash the right one first, then the left one first. Ablution is done. When you finish, you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I bear witness there is no God worthy for worship except Allah. I also bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah and the slave of Allah. When you say this, the Prophet ﷺ said that they will open all the 8 gates of paradise for you and will say you will enter through each of the gates that you will love. This is how we perform ablution. This is the ablution that will lift the ritual, the minor ritual impurity. But how do we take the ghusl, the ritual bath that will lift the major ritual impurity? First of all, after an intercourse with a woman or with a man, or after a woman wants to cleanse herself from menstruation, or a woman wants to cleanse herself from postnatal bleeding, or any other impurity that will attract its liftment through the use of the ritual, the major ritual impurity. First of all, you have to get a clean container or a bucket. Then you fetch clean water that is tasteless, colorless, and odorless, unless otherwise these particular features were part of the natural creation of their water. Because we have some places that have waters that are salty. In this case, we wouldn't say it is not tasteless. For that matter, we wouldn't use it. No. الماء الطهور هو الماء الباقي على صفتها التي خلق الله عليها. You get clean water, then you have to have the intention once again in terms of taking the ritual bath. Maybe you have an intercourse. Your intention should be that I have an intercourse and I'm observing this particular ritual bath to lift this particular major ritual impurity. If it is bleeding, your intention should be as such. If one is coming into Islam, his intention should be as such. The water or the observance of that particular ritual bath is one, but it is the various intentions that differ. You have to first of all have this intention. Then secondly, you will have to pour the water and wash your hands 3 times. After which, you fetch the water and wash your genitals. Your back and front, you wash your genitals very well. And make sure all impurities around your genitals areas are well cleaned. then you will have to start performing the normal ablution that we have just described. After you perform that particular normal ablution till the end, you will have to divide your whole body into two. You wash your right part first. While you are scratching during your wash, you don't wash gently. Make sure you scrap yourself very well to make sure that all pores of the head have taken up water. It's soaked with water and well washed. Then you take your left side, then you wash as such down. Then you wash your feet. And this is how you observe the ritual bath. And for this particular methodology that we have told you about, this is the supererogatory aspect of observing the ritual bath. With this particular undertaking of the ritual bath, you can move and you go and pray. There is no problem. And this is the Sunnah way. This is the tradition of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That is how he used to observe the bath. But when you want it on an obligatory direction, take your intention and pour the water onto your whole body without doing all these divisions, and wash down very well with the intention, and you are done. But if you want to go and observe prayer, you need to perform new ablution. This is what the scholars of Islam have all agreed on. My dear brothers and sisters, we need to observe cleanliness and purification in order for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to love myself and you. We will draw a curtain to this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it and learned a lot. May Allah accept from all of us and grant us the reward. We will meet you in the next episode. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.